Welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up on today's video, reports suggest Forest will be safe from PSR. Forest hijack West Ham yet again. And a 25 goal machine linked with Nottingham Forest. And Che Adams will not commit to his future until after the Euros. All this and plenty more coming up on your Forest news. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to a jam-packed episode of Forest Transfer news today. If you're enjoying the content, as always, please don't forget to hit that like button. It's completely free. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new, as we are closing in on 20,000 subscribers. Thanks to you guys for making us the biggest Forest fan channel on YouTube. We love you guys. And before we get into it, we've got a fun free game for you guys ahead of the Euros with our good friends at Sofascore, where you get to predict the winner of the tournament. All you gotta do is click on the link that's pinned in the comments and then pick who you think's gonna go through on the group stages. So very quickly, let me show you my prediction. I think Germany will win the group, Scotland of course will finish second, and Switzerland will go through. I think Spain win group 2, Italy and Croatia go through, England to win group C, Serbia to finish second, and maybe Denmark to qualify as well. France to win that group, with Netherlands coming in second and Poland third. Belgium to win Group E, with Romania to finish second. And then I think the final two qualifiers will be Portugal and the Czech Republic. Once you've done that, then select who you think will win the knockout round. So I think it will be Spain, Germany, Portugal and Netherlands. And I think Belgium will beat Croatia. France will go through. England and Italy, sorry Scotland, but Italy to go through. In the quarterfinals, I think Spain will beat Germany. I think Portugal will go through, France and England. And then the final for me will be Portugal versus France, with France to win it. Once you've done that, click on the continue link, put your details in, submit your predictions, and best of luck to all of you. Now let's get into the news. Okay, so let's kick this off with the talk on the town about PSR. And it's an article that's been released by John Percy, where he's talked about Forest's financial situation coming up to the 30th of June. And to be honest, a lot of what he said is exactly what we told you guys in our two-part special, PSR 1 and 2. And he's come to very similar conclusions to us. Now, he puts Forest deficit at in around £20 million. We make it to be £25 million. And either way, there's not too much in it. But his solution and his understanding of what Forest are planning to do is similar to how I thought it would play out as well. In and around Mangala, he is the key guy in all of this. Now, as we've told you plenty of times, there is a £15 million fee for Mangala to go to Lyon. And all roads are pointing to the fact that that's going to happen. But that transfer deal is set to go through on the 1st of July. Now, according to John Percy, he believes that this deal will go through in time for the 30th of June deadline. And how exactly could that work? Well, there are a couple of options. One, Forest could just let it go through on the 30th of July and then claim a near miss on PSR and go down mitigation, as we mentioned in the previous video. The second option is a similar option to what Forest tried to do with Lodi. Again, this is something we've told you about, but just to refresh your memory, that even though Forest had an agreement, an option to buy on Lodi, they still tried to negotiate the fee post-season. And this is something that I think might happen between Forest and Lyon. With it being 15 million and the deadline being the 1st of July, what may be happening right now is talks between the two clubs are happening to renegotiate that fee. Now, the transfer window opens on the 14th of June. Lyon will be in a slight position of power over Forest, knowing that they need the sale to go through. So what might happen is that Forest will say to them, okay, either we just let it go to the 1st of July and you give us 15 million, or we do it for the 30th of June and you pay us 12 to 14 million. We'll give you a little discount on the transfer fee. And to me, that makes a lot of sense, because Forest are set to make about 17 to 18 million pounds profit PSR wise on Mangala with this deal. And doing this wouldn't really move the goalpost too much, and it would guarantee that Forest don't breach PSR come the 30th of June. So if Forest were to cut it back by a couple of million, let's say they knocked off 2 million, the profit for Mangala would be 15 million. Now, it's still then dependent on how Forest make up the rest of the money. And according to John Percy and what we said in our video, is that Forest will look to sell off Joe Worrell. Joe Worrell, who's having serious interest right now from the likes of Sheffield, is expected to fetch a transfer fee of about £4 million. Add that to the Mangala one, you're looking at 19 million. And then with the fringe players that Forest have, the likes of the two keepers, Turner, Vlachodimos, you have Dennis, you've got O'Brien, etc. Forest would need to get one or two of these deals over the line on minimal profit. Now go back and check the PSR video if you want to check the details of how much the amortization of each of these players is worth. But this is really good news. I've seen figures that have ranged from 60 million on TalkSport to what Forest owe to 20 million from John Percy. And we declared 25 million on the video, but did say plus or minus £5 million. So I think that John Percy's figures are a lot more correct than Stefan's on TalkSport, because they are roughly where we ended up. Now, he does go on to say that it is still quite likely that Forest may sell either Murillo or Morgan Gibbs-White in this window to put them way clear of the PSR line and allow them to continue their spending how they want with that buffer zone this window. They're still asking, as we said again in the video, for about 60 to 70 million on Murillo. And there's new interest in Murillo from the likes of Arsenal now. We know Spurs have been interested. We know Barca and Real have shown an interest. Bayern Munich, PSG, all the clubs you can think of are showing an interest in Murillo. But I still do not think we should sell Morgan Gibbs-White, Murillo, or Callum Hudson-Odoi, especially now that we have more verification on our figures that Forest can do this without selling one of those three. I think it would be silly to do it because I think the valuation will continue to increase on those three players if we were to get another season or two out of them. And on top of that, you add in their PSR valuation because you would knock off another year on their contract length. That increases the profitability on each of those players. But this is good news for Nottingham Forest. But it does mean they have to get about 3, maybe 4 deals over the line before the 30th of June. And that is easier said than done. But it also means that if we do go to sell Morgan Gibbs-White or Murillo or Callum Hudson-Odoi in this transfer window, do not expect our pants to be pulled down, as we will no longer be in a position of weakness and we can demand the fees we want for them and will not be under pressure to sell. But keep your eyes peeled on what happens with Mangala, what happens with Worrell. These are now the two most important transfers that Forest have to deal with in this window. What do you think about all of this? Do you think it's good news or not for Nottingham Forest? Get your thoughts in down below. Okay, let's move on to our second story, and that is Viteo from Shakhtar, kind of. He's currently on loan at International, and West Ham were very close to signing him. They put in a £6.8 million offer, which is about €8 million for the Brazilian centre-back. And what's happening on this one, bear with me. He's owned by Shakhtar, but is probably going to be sold to International, who are then going to sell him on for €10 million, which is about £8.5 million. So they'll be asking for about £1.5 million more to sell him off straight away. Now that bit in itself hasn't been nailed down, so it may be a case of a deal can still be done at 6.8 million directly with Shakhtar Donetsk. But even without that, it's £1.5 million in this day and age. What is that in football transfers? Now, this deal was almost done by West Ham at the £6.8 million fee, but come in again and Forest swoop in again and ruin the West Ham party again, just like we did with Miguel. Forest are the front runners on signing this one, to the extent that West Ham are pretty much going to give up on him. Why? Because Forest offered him more attractive wages to join this outfit at the City Ground. So it looks like Forest are going to get this. However, I just can't confirm to you yet whether or not it will be 6.8 million, matching the West Ham fee, or whether he goes to International first and then Forest have to pay 8.5 million. But who is this player and what is he like? Well, he's Brazilian, so like I could just stop there. 24-year-old centre back. I think he's fantastic in the air, and I think this is why Forest have scouted him. He's a real proper thudder of the ball when it comes to headering. Reminds me a bit of Felipe in terms of the heading ability. Now, he's not like chiseled up or anything. He's quite lean, about 6'1", but very dominant. For me, his biggest attribute is in the air. He also has a few of the traits of Murillo in terms of finding that long crossfield ball. He's able to, send one 40, 50 yards across like a bit of a laser. And I like him. And I would love the idea of him and Murillo becoming this Brazilian partnership at the back. With Miguel in goal, we are just going Nottingham Rainforest all over again. So let's not get too sentimental and excited about the Brazilian side of it, but this really could work. But the other alternative here is that he's actually a replacement for Murillo rather than a partner for him. And we have to look at that as a realistic possibility. So West Ham fans are probably sick and tired of the amount of hijacking Forest are doing. I mean, this goes back historically all the way to Lingard when we came up. And, we just have the better pull. Sorry, West Ham fans, but Forest are a bigger club. So expect this one to advance quite quickly, but again, I don't expect anything to go through before the 1st of July. And that's the same with Carlos Miguel, the keeper that we have basically signed for. From everything we've heard and seen, it's a done deal. But the only thing Forest are waiting for is that magical date, and then we should see Miguel come through. But how are you feeling about hijacking yet again, West Ham? Do you think they're starting to get salty about us? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, let's move on to our third item on the agenda. I told you guys there's a lot to talk about today, and don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. Tommy Conway from Bristol City is set to be leaving them this transfer window with only a year left on his contract. The 21-year-old Scots international, who is going to the Euros with the best team in the world, is going to be leaving. Now, the reported fee for him will be between 6 and 8 million pounds. Tommy has scored 25 goals across his time at Bristol City, bagging in 12 last season in about 42 appearances, I think 43 appearances last season, and is renowned as the next best thing coming out of the Championship. And there is a host of clubs interested in him, with Forest being one of those. The rest are Wolves, Celtic, Rangers, Leicester, Brentford as well, all showing a lot of interest. Now at 6 to 8 million, I don't really see this as much of a risk. You guys are going to be like, yeah, but you don't want Che Adams. Yeah, because Che Adams is like 27. He's performed in the Premier League and not impressed me. With a 21-year-old who has plenty of room to develop, he's already kind of shown good signs in the Championship. I'm not against this one at all at the price that's being quoted. However, it is believed that Wolves are the front runners for him in this one. But that means nothing in football because Forest just hijack whoever they want. So watch out for him in the Euros. If you're watching the Scotland games, and we'll probably do watch-alongs for the main matches as we go forward into the Euros from Friday, keep an eye out for him. Now, potentially, if he over-impresses, that will overinflate his price as well. So it's going to be one of those ones that if you are going to take a risk on a Championship player, then it may be better to do it before the Euros, just in case he lights it up and adds an extra zero onto the asking price. But I'm not against this one at all. And I think that this player could be developed into being a good striker and will definitely come in to start with as a backup. It's still not the final answer that Forest are looking for. And speaking of not the final answers that Forest are looking for, that brings us on to the latest update on Che Adams. Now, Che Adams, who Wolves then, as I mentioned to you, I think in yesterday's video, overtook Forest in terms of being favourites for his signature. It's now reversed back and there's talks that Forest are favourites for him again. That really does excite me. However, Che Adams will not be making any decisions pre the Euros. He's going to wait until Scotland have either won it or got knocked out before he commits to his future. But it does seem now it's down to a two-horse race between himself and Wolves and Nottingham Forest. There's also been interest in him from the MLS and the Saudi League. I just can't believe how many clubs are interested in him. Maybe I'm wrong about him. Let me know in the comments down below. And that brings you up to date in a jam-packed episode on your latest Forest news. I'll leave those PSR videos for you on the end screen. If you haven't seen them already, go check them out. But I think it's good news what John Percy had to say, and it's good to see he agrees with what we said. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new, and we'll see you on the next video. Come on, you Reds.